The movie begins with the group of kids playing while a voice of a kid narrates that their country is currently at war. The kid named Egu sells a broken TV which he calls imaginary TV to a man, but he declines. Fortunately, he's able to sell it to a soldier. Egu and his family are living in the buffer zone where it is safe from the war at the moment. At home, we see Egu's family living peacefully. His mother takes care of him and his siblings, while his father, who was a teacher before the war, became the sector chief and helps the refugees that come to the buffer zone. One day, Egu, with his brother and friends, block the road with a branch and ask drivers for money, when a crazy old woman appears, scolds them, and calls them thieves. Back at home, Egu's family is happily eating when his father notices his TV. It turns out that Egu purposely breaks the TV to sell it. Egu quickly runs and hides from his father. The next day, the current situation of the war is being broadcasted in the radio, but Egu is not listening. He's busy making fun of his sleeping grandfather. Then, we see trucks of soldiers arrive in their village. During a meeting, the majority decided that the women and children will flee to the city's capital while men will stay to protect their properties. At home, Egu's mother and father are arguing about the fleeing, while he and his older brother are playing a board game. The next day, the father arranges for his wife and young children to go to the city, but Egu can't come. His father tries to bargain with the driver but fails. Having no other choice, the father just promised his wife that they will find them when everything is done. In the end, Egu, his father, brother, and grandfather are left in the village. Afterward, we see Egu and his family evading bullets from a shootout happening. Fortunately, they manage to hide. Egu's father is peeking outside, watching the rebels and government soldiers exchanging bullets. But he's surprised to see a cannon facing their direction. Upon hitting the place where they're hiding, others try to flee but get shot as soon as they open the door. Egu and his family, along with the other men, surrender to the government soldiers. Outside, the forces round up the men and ask if they're affiliated with the rebels, which Egu's father quickly denies. Egu's father introduces himself as the sector chief and says they are just ordinary citizens protecting their properties. But the soldier calls on the crazy old woman and asks if she knows the men, to which she responds that she didn't. She also adds that they are probably rebels. Egu's father tries to reason and tell the soldiers that the woman is crazy, but the soldier sentences them that they are enemy spies and executes them. Egu and his brother quickly run as per their father's order while he's shot along with other men. Unfortunately, Egu's brother is also killed during their escape and Egu is the only survivor. He continues to escape through the bushes where he spent days of walking and running away. One day, he sees a kid and immediately follows him, but it's already gone. Afterward, we see Egu caught up in a shootout and he's attacked by the kid he saw before. Other men show up and turn out to be the Native Defense Forces or the NDF soldiers. They capture Egu, thinking that he's one of the enemies. Then, the man known as the Commandant, the leader of the NDF, arrives and asks about Egu. He asks who brought him, to which another child soldier named Striker responds that he does. Commandant, then, asks Egu what he's doing there, to which Egu responds by telling him what happened to his family. The Commandant asks him to say his name proudly and decides he will join NDF. He will train along with the others. Afterward, they march back to their camp.
Move it!
At the camp, everyone pays their respect to the Commandant. Meanwhile, Egu is given to another soldier to train. Later, we see him with other soldiers, but he's the only one not eating. He asks for some food, but a soldier tells him that only soldiers can eat. Then, we hear the Commandant calls on Striker. The scene changes to Egu starting his training. He's also praying to God to see his mother. As 2IC says that the NDF is winning the war little by little, we see them being lectured by another soldier about their rights and how the enemies are taking it from them. Afterward, we see Egu, along with other children, become formally part of the NDF after undergoing training, a ritual for blessing and initiation. Then, the Commandant orders them to clear the area as they're about to move out.
Fight!
The next day, they go on an ambush mission on a bridge. Waiting for the right timing, they successfully ambushed the enemies. The commandant, then, calls on Egu and orders him to kill a man that they've captured. The man begs and says he's just a student, but the commandant hits him. Egu is hesitant to kill the man, but with the commandant's provoking, he hacks the man's head with a machete. Afterward, the commandant orders 2IC to give Egu a gun. Upon receiving it, Egu falls on his knees and throws up. He talks to God about what he did. Later, Striker approaches Egu and gives him the scavenged clothes from the dead enemies. Egu tries to talk to him, but he's not talking. Striker is only responding using body language.
I have a family. I'm stupid.
The scene changes to the commandant talking to his men about the food and women in the place that they will go when a soldier brings refugees. He tells the others that the enemies already captured the town of the refugees. The next day, we see 2IC's unit leading in taking back a bridge. He asks for backup from the commandant, but he only emphasizes the importance of 2IC's mission.
Fire! Our bridge, we are taking it!
He, then, calls on Egu and lets him watch the battle using a gun scope. Afterward, they charge into the field, fighting. Night falls, Striker brings Egu to the commandant where he praises Egu's performance. He, then, tells Egu that he reminds him of his younger self. He also talks about the importance of being a good follower to become a good leader. Afterward, he calls Egu into his room where he sniffs a burnt gunpowder and lay down. As he orders Egu to kneel, the scene is cut outside the room. The scene changes outside where Striker quickly helps Egu in walking and silently consoling his friend. The next day, Egu seems out of focus. A soldier notices it and gives him something called brown which makes Egu high. Afterward, the commandant tells them that the next village they will go to is full of enemies. As they move out, vans of the United Nations drives past them. Then, we see Egu and other soldiers arrive at the village and shoot everyone on sight.
Nobody! Yes! Scam nobody!
Later, they enter a building and find a woman and child hiding. Egu quickly hugs the woman, thinking that it's his mother, but it isn't. Meanwhile, Striker drags the child outside. Realizing that the woman is not his mother, he quickly lets go and calls her a witch. Outside, he sees Striker and others beating the kid. Asking if God is watching him, Egu shoots the woman in the head who's being raped by other soldiers. The scene changes to the commandant watching his men putting grenades on enemies' mouths when he receives a letter from the Supreme Commander Dada Goodblood. The Supreme Commander is calling for them. As they are about to leave, the grenades explode. He, then, tells a soldier to leave one civilian alive to warn other villages that they are coming. He also tells them that Egu and Striker will be part of the squad from there on. Then, they move out.
Who's your commander? I am. Go this way!
Afterward, we see the commandant and his squad are greeted by the deputy. He leads them into a waiting area where another foreigner is waiting to talk to Supreme Commander Goodblood. After some time, the deputy calls on the foreign first and it took a long while before they're called on, pissing the commandant. The deputy apologizes and leads them to a room where they fell asleep waiting. The next day, Supreme Commander Goodblood calls them and orders commandant's men to eat while the commandant and 2IC stay. Supreme Commander Goodblood talks about the changes in the situation of the war. He, then, promotes the commandant to Deputy Chief of Security while his battalion will be under 2IC. 2IC is thanking the Supreme Commander when the commandant cuts him off and tells him to leave. When the commandant is alone with Supreme Commander Goodblood, he confronts him of the changes that are happening. The Supreme Commander, then, reveals that the war is being known outside their country and with the United Nations involvement, it has become a battle for public image. The commandant is not in favor of the changes, but Supreme Commander Goodblood reminds him that he is a soldier and it is his duty to obey. In the end, the commandant leaves, saying that he still has one more night with his men. The scene changes to the commandant and his battalion arriving at his old friend, Mama's place where they drink and have women. He wants to celebrate his and 2IC's promotion, but he sounded otherwise. 2IC asks permission to leave because he wants to check the other units, but the commandant declines. He, then, asks Mama where the women are, to which she responds by calling them. But she says she only has women for men and not for Egu and Strika. As the men leave with their women, Egu and Strika are left to drink. After some time, Strika falls asleep, but Egu is eyeing a young woman, but she's not interested in him. Suddenly, they hear a gunshot and are surprised when their comrades bring out 2IC with a gunshot. It turns out that the woman with him accidentally shoots him while playing with his gun. This makes the commandant angry. The woman tries to flee, but Egu quickly shoots her as Strika shoots Mama. The scene changes to Egu sniffing burnt gunpowder. He, then, checks on 2IC, which tells him that everything they have done is for nothing. Afterward, we hear on a radio that everyone is looking for their unit. The commandant calls on Egu and Egu takes the chance to tell him that 2IC is dear. Later, the battalion prays over 2IC's dead body. The commandant, then, tells his men that even the Supreme Commander Goodblood is not their enemy, and they will have to take their territory by themselves. The battalion moves out, and as they leave 2IC's dead body eaten by worms, Egu realizes that the only escape in this war is through death. At night, while resting, they are awakened by missile attacks, killing their comrades. When morning comes, they continue moving, but Strika didn't want to go. Egu checks on him and discovers that he is shot. Egu, then, carries Strika even though he, himself, is tired. Later, Egu tries to talk to Strika, but he finds out that he's already dead. Although grieving for the death of his friend, Egu has no other choice but to continue moving. Then, the scene changes to Egu being ordered by a soldier to get ammo. Realizing that they don't have any ammo left, he goes to the commandant and notifies him. Meanwhile, the new 2IC also approaches the commandant and tells him that they want to leave. Asking other soldiers if they want to leave, the new 2IC points out that it's been months and they already run out of bullets, food, water, and money. It turns out that other soldiers want to leave as well, but the commandant points out that they have no life outside the war. Heated, the new 2IC points his gun at the commandant, but he knew he doesn't have bullets anymore. Suddenly, Egu points his gun to the commandant. He, then, asks Egu if he wants to surrender as well, to which he says yes. Pissed, the commandant tells them to leave but confidently assures them that they'll come back to him after they realize that they made the wrong decision. Thinking that Egu will stay with him, the commandant is surprised to see Egu walking away with other soldiers. Then, we see Egu and the others surrendering. Egu, along with other young soldiers, are sent to a missionary school where they are being counseled. However, Egu is having a hard time joining other kids in playing and is experiencing nightmares. Then, Preacher and Randy, Egu's comrades from the NDF, run away and rejoin the war after realizing that the commandant's words are right. The next day, Amy, a counselor, talks to Egu and convinces him to open up. But Egu is afraid that if he tells her what he experienced and what he did, he will look at him as sort of a beast. Instead, he starts telling her about his family. The movie ends with Egu finally joining other kids for a swim, and finally having fun. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy, hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. You should watch the full movie. Thank you very much for watching.